So this is a patch I'm calling GuitarOperator. It's an FM synth for guitar or bass or woodwind, whatever you want to throw at it, that can track pitch. So what it is 3 different operators set up in a matrix mixer where any of them can be the carrier or the modulator or both. The carrier is the oscillator that you hear in an FM synth. It's the output. So right now, oscillator 1 is serving as our carrier. I can turn that off, and if I play, no sound is made. I can turn on oscillator 2 and oscillator 3. Right now, they're not tuned all that well in unison, but any of them can be sent to the output. But you can also feed them into one another. So I'm going to feed oscillator 2 into itself. Here we have its feedback amount, and then it's being fed into oscillator 1. We get pretty dramatic change. Right now I have its index max. There are these buttons at the bottom that max the index, and what that does is it disables the modulation that goes through the matrix that controls the amount of modulation, the amount of each oscillator sent. But I can disable that, then I can get some attack. And there are a couple of switches on the second page. This first one, oh goodness, I do hate push buttons. This first one selects the mod shape, and there are 5 options. The first 3 are types of envelopes. This one is an envelope follower, and you have control over its rise and fall time. The next one is an ADSR that's triggered by the envelope follower, and it will give you smoother transitions than the envelope follower. The third one is an exponential envelope, which is, it uses the same envelope, but it's a slightly different shape, so you can adjust the controls and get a more spiky response, is how I would describe the exponential envelope. The fourth option is a triangle wave. You have control over its rate right here. And the fourth option is a random amount of modulation applied. I wish I had a more elegant way to do all of this, but I ran out of processing and space on the front page and all of that sort of thing. So this is the compromise I came up with. You can also select different shapes for the carrier's envelope. Again, the first is an envelope follower, and the second is an ADSR, and the third is an exponential ADSR. And they have separate ADSRs, the carrier and the modulator outputs, because you want to be able to shape those sounds differently sometimes. So the basic idea is that any of these can modulate one another. So, you know, we can just go wild and have everything modulate one another, and you get some pretty cool, harsh tones that way. Or you can just have it feedback on itself, which is can be a little more subtle. Okay, so that's the operators. And One final thing, these two operators are triangle waves. And this operator is a sine wave, and I'm going to explain why it's a sine wave right now. The first is that it gives you some tonal variation. So a sine wave sounds a little different than a triangle wave in FM. You can get some nice feedback going. So that's part of the reason why it is, but you also have a couple of different controls that apply to envelope 3. So the left stomp switch will put it in a ring mod mode. And in the ring mod mode, this serves as a modulator for operators 1 and 2. Operator 3 does. Nothing's being outputted right now, so we don't hear it. And in this mode, you have a couple of options. You can have the pitch track turned off. Or you can keep it on. And the reason why I wanted that option is because when you send the operator frequency into a negative amount, it works as a really interesting pitch tracked tremolo. You can also turn in non-ring mod mode, you can also turn the pitch tracking off and use this as a standard vibrato being fed to the other oscillators when it's at a reasonably slow setting. So I'm just going to demonstrate that real quick. Let's turn the speed up. Let's turn off. So it gives you some options for how to have the operators interact with one another. There are a few other things. There's a diffuser at the output. You can enable it or disable it with the right stomp switch. That allows you to create some pretty eerie soundscapes. It's not quite a reverb, it's not quite a delay. It just sort of adds space and ambience. There's also a low pass filter because obviously some sounds like this one can get kind of shrill. You can reel them in a little bit with a low pass filter. That's, you know, it's mostly there as a tone control. And there's a mix, so you could mix these sounds in with your unaffected signal. finally, there's a drone mode. And what the drone mode does is essentially push the sustain to 100 all the time. So notes just ring out. So you can still track things. But you could also just put the guitar down like I'm doing now and play around with the controls. So that's fun, I think. And that is the guitar operator.